Hey, this is property management fees in Jacksonville, Florida, and what to expect. We're going to go through a complete breakdown on what you should be getting charged on property management fees in Jacksonville, Florida. So the first thing that you're going to want to look at is that actual monthly management fee. Here in Jacksonville, currently in 2026, that's running between 8 to 12% of the monthly rent. An example on that is a $1,500 a month rental property should range between $120 and $180 per month of the rent. Now, if you're doing a flat fee option, expect that to be between $150 and $300 per month. The next thing to look out for when hiring a property manager is that we charge a leasing fee. That typically is going to be between 50 to 100% of the first month's rent. So on $1,500, that's going to be between $750 and $1,500 one-time fee. All right, that should include photography, listing, showing, screening, lease execution, and of course, placing the actual tenant. Now, one of the things I've talked about regularly is that tenant screening is very important. So when you're hiring your property manager here in Jacksonville, you need to make sure that they do a good job screening tenants, doing a background check, and ensuring that they have the correct income every month to qualify for the actual property. So the next thing to look out for are lease renewal fees. That's going to happen basically after that first lease expires. So it's about close to a year later. That ranges between $2,000 and $1,000 per month. An alternative, maybe 25% of 1 month's rent. That should include market analysis, negotiations, property inspection, and everything else needed to go ahead and re-up the lease with that tenant. So that tenant will be signing a new lease. You want to make sure that the property is in good shape, that it's not getting trashed, that everything's happening. And then on the tenant side of things, for them to re-sign the lease, they're going to want to make sure that you're keeping up with the property, that everything's safe. You're going to want to go through and inspect and check in on safety features like the smoke detectors, make sure there's no broken windows, and inspect the property thoroughly before you go ahead and renew the lease. One of the things I want you to pay attention to is inside of the management company, there's a document called the Property Management Agreement. So what I want you to do is get a copy of that from the potential property managers that you're thinking about hiring. I want you to go through and see what the monthly management fees are, see what those leasing fees are, and see what the renewal fees. But I also want you to pay close attention to additional fees. These are things like maintenance markup, setup and onboarding fees, eviction coordination. To be honest, there can be some crazy fees in there that probably aren't very applicable. Now, that being said, there is additional work that can happen on certain properties, and in my opinion, it's perfectly fair if a property manager charges for those things as long as they disclose them to you. So on maintenance markup side, 10% of the invoice is super fair. Setup fees and onboarding, maybe a couple $100. That's going to include inspection, photography, system entry, eviction coordination. That really kind of varies. And, some property managers hire an actual attorney like One Realty Management does. Others may just hire some processors. So it really kind of depends on what the attorney or the eviction processor charges. That fee is going to be passed on to you. So something else to look at is a fee model comparison. In a scenario of $2,500 per month, let's say you have a rental property in Ortega here in Jacksonville. Under the traditional 10% model, you would pay $250 of the monthly rent. Placement would be $1,250 to $2,500, depending on if it was, remember, 50% or a full month's rent. Renewal is running in that $200 to $1,000 a month range. And photos and marketing could be extra. With our company, we actually include that. On a flat fee model, it would only be like $199 a month. Placement could be like a flat $1,500, and renewal may be $499. A lot of people do prefer the flat fee, but we actually do the percentage. And the reason why is because we do not charge unless we are collecting from the tenant. And we think that's very fair. So we're not charging anything if we don't place the tenant. If the tenant doesn't pay, then you're paying no percentage at all. So just read those property management agreements. And obviously a lot of this comes down to preference. One of the things I want to say is no matter what, ensure that you are working with a professional property manager that has a lot of experience here in North Florida, that understands the neighborhoods, knows what to set the monthly rent at, that doesn't over maintain a property, but that they make sure that the property is well taken care of. So obviously, if you need any help with property management, we're here for you. And if you have any other questions about neighborhoods or evictions or anything else, I'm just one DM away.